I present to you my 1999 FXDx Super Glide Sport, or Super Sport as I like to refer to it. She's got over 50,000 miles. Her cams have only been replaced twice. They're high-rise S&S cams. Never had to replace the overhead springs because Harley designs this motorcycle with you using high-rise cams, because this motorcycle is all about performance. Performance is everything on this machine. One of the most noticeable features of the FXDx is the dual speedometer tachometer. You might think a speedometer isn't important, but it is. This motorcycle likes to be revved above 3,000, and she can go well over 4,000. And when you're up in the higher speeds, you need to keep the engine revving to keep the oil pump spinning. So it doesn't really make any sense to put an overdrive gear or 6th or 7th gear on it. 5 gears does everything. This is my customization here, 6-inch risers. Chose to use chrome because it shows a good contrast between the black and the chrome. Harley-Davidson handlebar grips, the most uncomfortable grips you can find because it reminds you to not tightly grip your handlebars. You need to stay loose. I have a dent in the fuel tank from where my hand got caught underneath during a flop over. I was turning while going slow uphill, and I just kind of tumbled over. It was really dumb. I was trying to avoid a tree branch, so next time just smack into the tree branch. I have a K&N air filter. Originally it had a color matched cover, the oval cover that Harley's known for, but on long trips that would encourage these 3 small screws to come loose on the air filter, and the whole thing as a unit would fall off. So nowadays the only cover is this Alcoholics Anonymous 1 month coin that I'm not a member of their organization per se, but I chose to use it for its satanic quote, "To thine own self be true." Thought that was funny. And because I was originally a California resident, we got our Hells Angels stickers. This motorcycle has a Thunderheader exhaust, which I think is one of the most beautiful exhausts, because it has that kind of Star Wars technology look. The paint that they use becomes brittle from the heat, and water hides underneath the paint, so you gotta water brush that off. So that's something to watch out for. even with these aesthetic problems, I'm still pretty proud of this exhaust because it just delivers a really smooth, it just gives it the whole motorcycle more smoothness because it's just not fighting the exhaust. It flows good. Another thing is that an FXDx will always have twin front brakes. Everybody wants to go fast, but they don't consider stopping. Stopping is very important and will give you faster times. With these old Showas and everything, they're flimsy, so you need a fork brace. Showa front ends. Chinese eBay fairing. Got aftermarket Screaming Eagle ignition wires that are 5 times thicker than stock in my kitty. The screw on this Lapera saddle frequently comes loose, so having this brass over it keeps it from going anywhere. Made my own floorboards with Douglas fir to support the timber industry here in Oregon. Took some U-bolts, put them right through, and it adds a tremendous amount of comfort because with the foot pegs, you have to exert pressure on your foot the whole time to hold it on. I have a large brake pedal that originally was more in the way of your foot, so I drilled a hole in it to mount it the way I wanted to. Now I have more room for my toes. Yeah, aluminum's soft, so if you have a drill bit at home, you're capable. On the rear I have LEDs, which I don't recommend because you have to hide the resistors under the fender, which is kind of precarious. So if you want LEDs, I recommend buying a motorcycle that already has them. Chose these LEDs just because of the hollow tubes that are screwed in, and they don't protrude excessively into the wheel well, which is good. It's good fitment. But I got them from J&P, which is twice as expensive as eBay or Amazon. Go to eBay or Amazon first. The rear foot pegs are also useful to the rider to assume a more race-like position. I frequently do that. The heel of a Harley boot just drapes over it and doesn't take any effort to hold your foot on it. You can tell I put a lot of miles in from the wear on the corner of the battery box. Yeah, the battery is really accessible on these Dynas. You don't find that on the newer Softail, where you have to go underneath the saddle and use tweezers and pliers to reach what you're working on. None of that nonsense here. This bike is designed for the rider to maintain it. .88 inches, naturally aspirated, 5-speed, Dunlop tires. Dunlops are excellent riders and racers, and they live and die by these tires. So I've had great success with Dunlops. Seems that the punctures, if it occurs, it goes in at a horizontal angle, so it doesn't puncture the tube. And this is my 1999 FXDx. I got to go to court on Monday and everything because of my Harley-Davidson license plate was covering the organ on the license plate. So obviously it's a Fourth Amendment violation because there's no probable cause to pull somebody over for that, so I'm fighting it. And her name is the Ecstasy of Gold. She's Aztec orange with gold flake. Yes, Aztec orange pearl with gold flake.